code to the GitHub. I will show it once again today after at the end of the lecture. All right.
Yes,
So
sir.
please
Yes,
pay
sir. Thank.
attention. Do you have a
Yes.
GitHub account?
Yes, sir. I have been using GitHub.
Okay, so you must be knowing about that. All right.
Yes, sir.
So once we are done with that, what we will be doing is another thing is you are supposed to push your current portfolio website to GitHub as well, and the other thing that you have to do is, yeah, you will have to watch yesterday's lecture. So that one was important because we learned about basic routing and creating our server. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that code also you have to push. Okay. And there was one more task given. So the task was to make the homepage of your website. So after portfolio website, we are making another website. So just like uh, so all you have to do is make a basic homepage for your website. So right now, let me start sharing my screen for you. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. So this website will load in till then. Is this uploaded? Yeah. So you guys can have the recent two lectures as well. So 17, 18, 19, and then 20. 20 was holiday, so 21. And today is a Tuesday. Yeah, it's a Tuesday. So I will be sharing today's recording also. But okay, I opened up the wrong site, but still this should help you out. All you need to know is that you are supposed to make a home page for your website. All right. Okay, chalo. So let's just hit up our code. And yesterday we stopped at redirecting, and we created our GitHub, and we had our initial commit to the GitHub. All right. So please be hidden, and this should load in within seconds, but for some reason it's taking time right now. Yeah, all it needed was a refresh. So you see, this is my website. So I have made it. Okay, so it is made entirely in React. So if you click over here, so there are many things that are small, big for you to see. So there's loading animations and all. I have to work on those small things. All right. And I'm still logged in, so that's fine. So you don't need to make something this big or something like this. All I want you to do is just make a small website in which you can use authentication. So there is authentication inside this. So if I log out, it logs me out and takes me to the login page. All right. So there is user login also, and then there's a sign up page, so that should be there. And hiring here takes me to for add for the chef. Actually this website is already bought. So I worked for Why Hungry once. You guys can check them out on Instagram. They are awesome people to work with. All right, I guess they are still hiring someone to work with. All right, so even if you go down, where was the career section I made? So the footer, I guess they have not changed it. It is supposed to be same. Yeah, these carriers, they have added barbecue and Dragon's Den now. So Dragon's Den is their like a TV show. Okay, so it's a great company to work with. It's London based. We were just the designers and developers for this website. All right, so yeah, in carriers, what you have to do is yeah, they need a full stack engineer and product leader right now. But I guess if you are learning right now, you won't be able to do full stack engineering because that takes at least 4 or 5 years of experience, and then somewhere you will have to start with it. And all these posts, they come from Instagram. All right. So okay, so you don't have to do all this stuff for you, but just make a basic website which includes sign up, login, log out, and then there should be some kind of booking. So make an Amazon, but a basic one. Don't stress it out. Don't make it something very huge for yourself. All right. So that is all I wanted you guys to know. So do we have everyone? Pawan left. Why? All right. ठीक है चलो. Pawan left. All right. So last time we stopped at this point. Let's just start recording as well. So we can start recording. Okay, just stop recording. Yeah. Now it should start recording for us. ठीक है चलो. Now, so from today onwards, what we are going to do is we are going to learn about npm. So npm comes packed with node.js. Well, if you hit npm on your this, so let's go to Google and okay, it is over here only. Okay. Now let's just open npm.com. So what it stands for this nationwide Palamodos matrimony. And every time you refresh it, it just changes. So right now it's nationwide Palamodos matrimony. All right, it is supposed to change. Yeah, it is Nistic Party Mantra, nothing plus more. Next step programming mastermind. Okay, so these are not the actual full forms. It stands for Network Package Manager. Okay, and since it is an open source, you guys can always go to the community tab. Okay, and then from here, uh, you guys can open the bug tracker. So that is something you have, and inside this, there are some parts where you can actually work with. So if you see this, we have different. So now it says print maker, it says nice is promote misery, nickelback plays music, non-production music, and all that part. You can always add a uh, add a new full form to it as you like. So this is the readme.md file. All right. So not at this part, there is one place where I found ideal and specific for the API design of CLI. So let's just try this one. So okay, copy accepted, and yeah, so this is the part where you guys can work. So it says accepted this. So this, if you open this part, so inside that accepted, and then inside this template.md, you have to provide a human title readable for that, and then a short summary, and then why did you put it, and you guys can push it. But that is just the community part and why people love it and why it is so awesome. All right. So it says take your JavaScript development up a notch. Okay, so what it does actually is it allows us to install packages. So you can do that directly. So now, but instead of doing it like that, what we can do is we have to first say npm init. So it will ask you a bit of questions. So it will ask you package name. So you can say node website. All right. Now it does not allow capital letters, so you will have to say something nice. Okay, cute blogs. Okay, and then version will be 1 by default, and then description. This is the description, and then hit enter. Entry point will be index.js by default for us, and then we don't have test command. Git repo, it knows what it is, so hit enter again. And then for keywords, don't enter anything, no problem. Author, you can put in your name, but I go by the name of Rose Pink Dragon on GitHub, so I will keep that. Then license and all that, and then just hit yes, so you have to put in y, or you can type enter yes, and then that's it. So now you'll find this package.json file. Okay, now it looks empty, so there are bugs part is over here, home page is over here, and then URL part and all that. Okay, so that is your package.json. Now why do we need this package.json? The first thing is that it describes your code. Now we have not filled it with anything like description, proper description, and then there should be a readme.md file. All right, but when you go to work with professional people, you will always document your code. So you will put a lots of that documentation over here and in another file known as readme.md. And the second thing is that once you install dependencies, node needs to know which dependencies you are using, and that dependencies will be passed inside package.json file. And if you are sharing the code, you don't share your node modules folder, so everybody who downloads your code can have that for their own usage. And instead of getting that huge load of node modules folder, it can be installed very much better and faster from npm. So there are so many dependencies to work with, but the most common and favorite one is Nodemon. So now if you go over here and hit Nodemon, all right, and then you just go to nodemon.io. So it says Nodemon reload automatically. So previously without Nodemon, what we did was uh, what we did was every time we made change to the index.js file, we had to save our code and then refresh it, and then you have to run it again and again. So what Nodemon does for you is that it all automatically reruns your code as soon as you save it. So every time I hit save, it will rerun your code. So how you do is npm install Nodemon, all right, and then now if you see that there is a g dash g, okay, so this means that it is a global uh, dependency. So once installed, you don't need to do npm install Nodemon again and again. But just to show you guys, even though I have it installed already, I will add the global flag. Now this is known as a flag. All right, so previous versions we had to use save if you wanted to do this, and there was another thing that if you wanted to include it as a dev dependency, you had to add dev and all. But now Node does that all for you automatically. So you want to say global and then hit enter. Okay, so this is will be your first. Have I typed in this right? Node mon. So all right, ठीक है चलो. So let's just cross our fingers, and inside our package.json file, it is not visible because we have installed it globally. So how we will learn it? So we will say nodemon and then put a dot, or you can just say index.js. All right, so once you hit enter, it says nodemon 2.0.7. To restart and anytime enter rs. So to restart your server, you just have to type in rs inside the terminal and hit enter. It will restart your server. And it also says watching paths, and then there are extensions also. All right, so dot star dot, it means that it is looking for every file and every type of extension that has .js, .mjs or .json file. As soon as you hit save, it will just uh, reload that, your refresh your server for you, reload your server for you, whatever you would like to call it. So let's just see this in practice. Now that our server has already started, we can always go to localhost and then 4000, it says home page. All right, okay, so instead of going to the index.html, let's just go to 404.html once we get our case slash. Okay, so now it instead of doing all that previous work, it already restarted our server for us. So it says restarting due to changes and then starting node next index.js. And once you refresh this page, now you always have to refresh your browser because you cannot control that. But if you configure your VS Code to work as a browser, it is already a browser. You can implement the full functionality of browser inside itself. So that's a plus point, but you will have to learn VS Code in deep. All right. So that is your this. All right. And now we will learn about local dependencies. So the dependencies that go inside your package.json file. This is a just Nodemon is a dev dependency which makes your life a bit easier. All right. So there are other things that make your life easier, but that is what dependencies are supposed to do. Instead of writing all this bunch of codes, you can just type in some stuff and it just works magically. All right. So let's just get started with some, like we have Lodash. If you guys have heard about it, it basically puts your uh, JavaScript on steroids. So you don't have to do things. So let's just open the documentation for Lodash. Okay, so you see it gives you nice arrays. So this is array of chunk concat. So instead of saying doing some arbitrary stuff which you won't understand or not reusable code, what it does is it allows you to work with your code by default. Okay, so instead of making some things which you will be using repeatedly, you can just install the Lodash library. So there is find index, find last index. All right, so there are many things. So there is sorted index of slice we have by default in JavaScript. Okay, so this tail one is also a good one. It just instead of returning all the three, it will just slice push off the one from this. All right, so it does many things under the box for you. So you can work with collections, you can work with arrays, you can work with dates, you can work with functions. So there are things like, you see once what it does is, if you don't want to run your functions one, all you have to say is underscore dot one. All right, so that's your Lodash. And if you run that function more than once, it will cause an error. So let's just see it in practice for now. So what we will do is we will install it. So we will need to stop our server. Let's just clear this terminal again. Okay, and we will say npm install Lodash. Okay. So now once I hit enter, it should install it. And inside my package.json file, we have dependencies and it says Lodash. All right. Now don't worry about the package log.json file. You should not share this file as well. But once you start installing dependencies now, it will check for the integrity and all, so that it knows whether your file has been installed successfully or not, and the link that was used to install the file. So don't worry about that part. Or you should always share the package.json and the main files. You do not share this node modules folder. I'm showing on the left if you are stuck. So there is a node modules folder above the views folder. You are not supposed to share this folder. Please don't do it. You will be just wasting your internet, your time. It takes lots of time to upload this because you see it contains so many things inside itself, and you really don't want to do that. Okay, ठीक है चलो. Now currently we have only one installed, so that is Lodash. We will be installing Express. Okay, so let's just start working with our dependency, and then we will switch to Express, and we will do a bit of stuff here and there with Express. But let's just see how do you work with a dependency. So just like importing stuff, you can always say const underscore equals to require, and then inside brackets you say Lodash, all right. So Lodash, as a developer, you always import it as an in underscope, because you now know that uh, it is not something that you have defined, but instead it comes not even from JavaScript, it comes from Lodash. Okay. Now that is how people like to do that. You can always say whatever you want, but you see, naming these guys as little as possible also helps speed up your server. But you don't want to do that because JavaScript has optimizations for you built in. So whenever this code is being compiled, they don't actually send all this, so it just improves readability. So now in current state, it does not matter that much, but if you would consider the same like 5 or 6 years back, it would be an issue. All right, so that is why we use underscope, and now it has become a habit. All right, so we were going to see about the once function. All right, so now there are many things. So rest, you see, this rest, it just came to JavaScript. It was there before JavaScript with Lodash. So you know that it is something beyond its time. So we have memoirs. So what it does, it if you have some function that will run again and again and takes a lots of time to do, you can just memorize that function and then call it again and again, and it will be way faster for you. But you don't want to get to this part right now. That is something very hard. So we were stuck with once, right? So let's just start doing our once. All right, so what you have to do is you have to pass in function, and then the function you want to do this. So now let's just copy this part. All right, and we can say where initialize once. Okay, and then instead of doing this, we can just say greet. All right, we can just say, we will call an anonymous function over here. We don't want to do this, but let's just do it. Okay, so log data. All right, so now it should not initialize run it twice, it should run it once only. All right, now there's some error with my code right now. So what's that error? Extension criteria cannot. That is some kind of problem, but let's just see what is the problem right now. No. Yes, so let's just clear this, and let's start our Nodemon server again. So since we have passed it inside a server, we will have to refresh this once more. Okay, it did call it twice. Okay, the issue with this is this is an anonymous function and does not have a name. So let's just say a function that has hello inside. All right, and what it does, it console logs something for you. Okay, so let's just say console log. uh, okay, so we are supposed to say hello, and then sorry, I'm not using some, what we call that, our arrow function. The app crashed. We need to say function hello. Yeah, so now it works, and if I do this again, yeah, you see it ran the function once. So initialize was run once only. All right, so if you see over here, it says log data, but when we did that the same second time, it did not. It says expected a function and function dot once. All right, so it just shows an error. So now this is something that you would use for your security purposes, because you don't want to run something twice and all. So that is our Lodash for you. In the long run, learning this will help you a lot. So let's just keep it right now, just in case I want to show it to you guys again. We will also remove this dependency. Okay, chalo. So let's get to actual work. So what we'll be doing is, instead of using this trash code we have right now, Let's just control X this guy and create a new file, and we will call it old server.js. All right, and let's just paste it in so that we can compare this file with our new index.js. So it will contain express. All right, so express, what it is a framework. So let's just close this tab and then go to our second tab. All right, now please don't be confused with my shortcuts and all. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to look up for express. Okay, so that is why I prefer, yeah, now this should work. All right, so now we have express. So all you have to do is import express, and then you have to use a variable that calls in express. All right, well, what is express? Now you see we have this code over here, and once this gets very big, it will just cause issues, and the code will also get bigger and bigger. And apart from just doing this, you also want to carry out some functions over here, so you will say some function. All right, so you can just call in some function all over here and then put it over here. And then you will also have something like you want to do many different stuff, and then there will be uh, don't do this, then there will be something like to do. All right, do this. So then you will have another file, and they will this will just make that your this code will become trash and all, and then it won't be stable as well because there will be issues. So what express does is it handles all this stuff. Instead of us having to import the file system, what it will do it in the backend for us. So we don't have to set headers each time, we don't have to set the status codes each time, we don't have to set the status codes over here. All right, for 404 the status code should be 404, so the page is not found. So instead of doing all this ourselves and then sending in the data, and if there is some error, sending bad back error, you really don't want to do that. All right, so that is our express. It just helps us make our code easy for us, so that when we are using view engines and all, at that point you can use your express. So it has robust routing, it is high performance. The main part we'll be working with is its template engines. So we'll be using a template engine, and that our template engine will be EJS. So if I go to Google and look up for EJS, so it says embedded JavaScript templates. So it stands for embedded JavaScript templating language. What it does, it allows us to make a dynamic page. All right, so can somebody tell me a difference between a dynamic page and a static page?
Sir,
Yeah.
dynamic page is something that we can store the data dynamically. In the sense, more data.
Okay,
It
so
has
can you give me
sir.
give yeah, example please?
Example, just like web application.
All right, uh, so you can call Facebook a dynamic page.
Yes, sir.
All right, you are close, but you are not actually right. Anybody else? Anyone else? Okay, Madhu said that it takes data and all. What actually dynamic pages are? They are generated on the fly. So every time I'm requesting this page, it should be generated on the fly instead of just having a statically typed HTML. Every time I want to do is I want this title, and then it should be cached inside over here. So this title is only different every time, so I can just insert something over here from the backend, so that will be generated on the fly for me. So that is what EJS does for you. Good job, Madhu, first of all. Nice. At least you are answering. All right. So there are things that you should know about EJS. It allows you to pass uh, uh, what it allows us to pass some objects, some anything that you want to pass inside your EJS render file. So if you have an index.html file, you want to pass in some data inside there, we will be using EJS for that. So that is a dynamic page. What about a dynamic language? Is JavaScript a dynamic language or a static language? Anyone? Anyone? Okay. Chalo. So we are working with JavaScript and we don't know whether JavaScript is a dynamic or the static language. What type of language is it? Is it a high level language, low level language, or something? Anyone? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
All right. What about the others? Am I audible to you?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
can somebody tell me what is
yes,
the
sir.
difference between static language and a dynamic language? Is JavaScript a dynamic or static language? And is it a high level language? Come on, if you're learning Node.js, you should know what JavaScript is and how it works under the hood. Without that, you won't be understanding Node.js to its core. Me using Express right now is fine because I know how it works behind the back. All right. But without knowing how it works behind the back, and you just uselessly go and ahead and make a three-page website with an Express, it will just cost you server and your production cost will also be high. So why Express and all you should know. But tell me about JavaScript at least now, since you are learning Node.js
It's
right
a
now, so it's fine.
high level
Yeah, Mohammed.
language.
Sorry. Okay, it's a high level language. That's good. What about the rest? What about is it dynamic or static language?
Sir, in the sense, it responds to the request, or when we try to click a fill the form or just have a
Oh no, no, no.
responsive.
That is you are talking about the browser forms and all that stuff.
Yes,
What
sir.
about language? So you see, when we write a language, so we are right now we are doing Java. So we are doing JavaScript. It is a high level language, and high level languages are generally dynamic language. So you don't actually have to say that okay, this constant or this variable is a string or it's an array. JavaScript does that for us uh, or automatically. So you don't always have to say that it has to do this and it has to do that. Uh, all you have to do is you can just say const a equals to some string, or you can put in a number. Unlike Java, C or C++, you don't have to use the word int, num, where, str, arr, array, and all that stuff. You don't have to do with JavaScript. All right. So even though it is a high level language, but uh, and comes with the caveat, so you can say that it is a weakly typed language. All right, so these things are asked in the interview, guys. You should know this, how Java works. There are many types of functions: pure, impure, closure functions, garbage filing, garbage collection, what is overflow, underflow, underfetching of data, overfetching of data. There's so much things to do before going down inside Node.js, you know. आपने खुद ही तो मार ली, लेकिन ये नहीं मालूम कौन सी खाई में खुद ही मार ली. ठीक है चलो. So that is
Sir,
why. Yeah.
sir, will you provide the notes of these questions?
No, I don't. I haven't typed out anything for you guys. I'm sorry for that. But documentations have this. I have learned
Okay.
everything from internet. You guys can always open up the JavaScript documentations. Instead of learning how to do this and how to do that, you can always learn the code of JavaScript. All right, you should know that there are some things about JavaScript, you know, sure, even though it contains the name Java inside it, it does not get compiled to Java. It gets compiled to C++, and then from there it gets to assembly language, machine language. And the biggest drawback of JavaScript is that it works only in browser. So that is why we have Node.js. It allows us to write JavaScript outside the browser. And previously, this all was not possible even on Python and all, but Node.js was the pioneer. And then Node.js is also not secure by default, so you guys will have to learn about security and all that stuff. That is why we now have Deno.js. And on top of JavaScript, like I said, Lodash gives steroids to JavaScript. You can say that TypeScript just removes all the troubles that come with JavaScript. So now I said about constant declarations or variable declarations, where you can make anything, like you can say that now this thing is a string. So let's just say my name, I put input as string, and then in future it just becomes a number or an array. You can control that with TypeScript. So that is why we have TypeScript, to control what we are typing. We really need to know that what we are doing with all the stuff and all. So that is why you should always know to learn what happens behind our backs. All right. So I would really request you guys to start learning with Google and all that stuff. Learn what JavaScript does for you. Why do we use it? What are the alternatives? What about Node.js? Deno.js is there, and then we have Django Rails, Ruby on Rails. There are so many things that you can work with. Then why do people prefer Node.js? And recent Stack Overflow surveys and all, you guys can always see that JavaScript stands at the top, especially with developers who are newly learning. So it is a beginner friendly language also, and it's a professional language also. So I really request you guys to go to Google, and instead of learning and watching YouTube all day, there are so many things that we just waste time on. Now it's time to learn. You guys should be learning at this point. All right. ठीक है चलो. So we have Ria ma'am also with us today. So she is our HR. She's, I guess, the head HR, you can say, and she's a great influencer for you all. Good evening, Ria ma'am.
Good evening, all of you. Good evening, guys.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good
All
evening,
right.
ma'am.
So, guys, after
Good
training,
evening, ma'am.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Can you repeat?
So, आपकी ट्रेनिंग क्लासेस कैसे चल रही हैं इंटर्न्स?
Ma'am, fine.
Everyone answer. How is the class going?
Fine,
Going
ma'am.
fine, fine, ma'am.
ओके. So, आपको सब कुछ समझ आ रहा है?
Up to most
Yes,
extent, ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, great. Okay. Mohib sir, you can continue it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank
All
you, sir.
right. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for attending. Okay. So let's just get started with Express.js. All right. So how you get started with Express.js is, now this is a very professional tip. Being a developer, you should know how to copy and paste. So that is what we are going to do right now. So we'll go
Excuse
select
me, sir.
everything we require. We can just copy. Yeah, I'm sorry. We are supposed to share the screen, right? All right. So I'm visible now, right? Okay, I should be visible now. Okay. So what I was saying is, any professional developer, what he does is, when learning something new, he goes there, he will start, he will just copy whatever he wants to learn. So I have a bad trackpad, so I'm using shortcut. So I just hit Control C, and then over here I am saying Control V. Now what we did was, we imported Express. All right. So let's just comment this out, and to see what does Express give us, so we can always say console log Express. All right. So now whenever we do this, it says cannot find module express. Yeah, we first need to install this. So let's just clear this and we'll say npm I express. All right. So let's give it a second or two to install. Hmm. All right, it did install. Okay, it took 6 seconds, but that's fine. Let's just clear it again, and this time it should work. Yeah, you see now there are so many things that Express gives you. All right, so it gives you events, max listeners, set max listeners, so you can always create number of people who can join you. So there are prepend listener, prepend once listener, remove listener, off listeners, handle. We have use is something we'll be using continuously throughout. Then we have route as well, so this will be used to create controllers. We have engine, we have set, so this is used to redirect people. Path is also there. Then enable, disable, bind is there, delete, get, head, link. There are many things. So there is make activity, make calendar, merge. So if you start working with all this stuff, you guys will know that Express is far more than what you can see. All right, purge means cleaning up your code or something, but it's fine. All right, ठीक है चलो. And purge you will be using once your code gets very high. You see, uh, this empty line, this empty line, this empty line, this empty line, this empty part. All right, all of this comes at a cost. All right, so uh, even though your server runs fine and fast, these small things can take up space. So what purge does for you is it will make your code as concise as possible. In fact, it will just put up your code in just one line. So once I purge it, it will look something like this. Now there must be many websites where you guys can always watch this. So if I go to this website right now, so this website is also made by me. Okay, and if I go to the view page source, you see it is everything is in one line only. Okay, so I will have to turn on line wrap, and you guys can see that there is little to no space, and there will be space only when it is absolutely necessary to pass in the space. So that is what purge does for you. Okay, so let's just control Z everything. ठीक है चलो. Now uh, after saying const express equals to require express, we are importing express, and then we are assigning it to a variable. So instead of saying express and then in brackets then dot, we can just say app dot now. All right, so even before doing this, we can just console log this guy out, and then do this also. We can just say console log app. It should return you the same things. Okay, so now if yeah, you see it just returns up the same thing. So it says starting due to changes, and then it returns us the same thing. Now it's just preference point. So I like to call it app because that just increases your readability. So now we can just do this app dot get slash about. We can just call in this function, and then we can say request and then response, and then so this is a callback function, so we can make it an arrow function for us. All right, and removing these useless functions and making them again and again, it is far better to use an anonymous or a arrow function. Right now this function does not have a name, so it is an anonymous function. Okay, ठीक है चलो. So now it should say response dot send, and over here we will say about it. We will send in our other things as well. Okay, I'm missing a comma over here, so now it should look far better. All right, so for some reason my autocomplete and as well as prettier don't work. Okay, And instead of, you see over here we said server dot listen 4000, and then there is local host, and then these things. Express, it by default knows where to run uh, your port. So right
आइसक्रीम
now,
करके
yes, who's speaking? Sunita,
Sorry,
you want
sir.
to say? Yeah, no problem. Chalo. By mistake you left your mic on. It's understandable. ठीक है चलो. So yeah, so that is it. So right now, if I say about, and then there is another thing, you can just pass in a star over here. So this is your catch all, and you should say over here 404 page. All right, let's just save this right now, and it is now listening on this. Let's just do this. So let's just put this. So this is an asynchronous function, and it takes in callback. All right, so once it starts the port, you want to know that. All right, so we will just say console.log port started. Okay, now you want to put in conditions when you want to create your port and all. So okay, it does not accept all these things, so let's not do that. Yeah, instead what it does, it takes in a callback function. So once it is done this, and then we can say, I guess, port running on 3000. All right, yeah, now it says port running on 3000. So if I go to the local host and then port 3000, I should not go there, it is broken. Yeah, now you see it says hello world. And then over here, if you go to about us, it says 404 page, because we have not set up our redirect, but it says about when we go to the about page. And if you go to some random page, it says 404 page. All that, so it says 404 page. We actually want to send in HTML files and all. Yeah, so all right, we are already at the point, so I will show that to you guys tomorrow. But from tomorrow we will be starting with basics of JavaScript as well. So I have figured out that other than Madhu, there is nobody else who is answering me. So I request you guys to start answering. At least if you don't know, you can answer. You are right or wrong, it does not depend. The basic part of answering, it just makes you stronger. So next time when you are asked the same question, you know that you answered it wrong and the right answer is this, and then you can say the right answer. So start answering even if you don't know. Try some hit and guess stuff like Madhu did for the second part. For first part he was pretty much right. Now if you guessed it, good job. It was a great guess, Madhu. I like it. But for the second part, even though you tried, it was wrong, but still good. Better than the others instead of not answering anything.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, welcome. ठीक है चलो. So
Sir,
we will. Yeah,
sir, I,
Sunita.
sir, I didn't understand why JavaScript is a dynamic language.
Okay, so you see, when working with JavaScript, you never said that this is a constant and this constant is an integer, right? But when you work with Java and all, okay, so have you ever worked with Java, C, C++? So that is some low level language.
Yes, sir, I have worked with C++.
All right, inside C++, whenever we create a new integer, we say int, right? So int, int, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. But have you ever done that in JavaScript?
No, sir.
Yeah. So that is why it is a dynamic language. Now there are many things that
Sir,
go.
sir,
Yeah,
sir,
yeah.
but in JavaScript for constant values, we take const. Otherwise, we'll go with where or let.
Yeah. If you use where, that was a old thing. You see where it came with its own drawback, like it would make your variable global. So
Yes, sir.
yeah, so that is why we had the introduction of let and const, so that we know that in where in your, if you are writing something in future, as you scale up your code, you don't remember that okay, I assigned this variable and it should not change during the code. All right, but if you do that with where, it will change that, and then you will have unexpected results and all. So that is one part. And then that is why we have const and let. So if you are using let, instead of assigning that thing as a global variable, what it does, it assigns it to a local variable. So you cannot, first of all, it improves your encapsulation. So encapsulation is something about security, you guys should learn about that part as well. uh, so once it is declared as a local variable, it will stay local only and not interfere with your global variables. Okay. And then const, as it says, it remains a constant throughout the pitch. So these are just uh, quality of life improvements, but you don't get these things in C and C++, right? You cannot declare something to be a constant, you cannot declare something to be a variable. Can you do that?
No, sir.
Yeah, so that is why it is a dynamic language. It depends upon you what you want to do, it will do it for you. And by default it is not secure and all, because you may put in different parameters. So instead of putting in a string, you might just put in something like a number or an array. At that time the data type will also change, because JavaScript, what it does is it changes the data by data types as it goes through the compilation process, and then it sticks the one sticks with one that is compatible by the end. Instead of your static language, you have to specify the data type instead of the language doing it for you, right? So if you create a integer inside C++, when you go ahead and you call that integer with a string or an array, it will show an error. But JavaScript for you won't do that. All right, it will instead, it will just convert that for you. So that is why it is known as a dynamic language, and it is a weakly typed language for the same reason. All right, so when you go in higher parts, so where you come with machine learning and all things, even though people use Python and Python is slower than JavaScript, but it does provide you with many other things that make your machine learning things easier. And since we are just getting started with Node.js, so JavaScript is coming out of the browser slowly. It will take time for it to be highly efficient. So that is why we don't use machine learning and all that stuff right now in Node.js, but it is the future. And with Deno.js, there is so much of changes coming. And to make your JavaScript a statically typed language, you always have TypeScript. So that gives you muscles. All right. So that is why it is known as the dynamic language. There are many other aspects if you go out research on it. Now, if I start and telling you guys, it is already 9:30 and we are very late. So it will either go off your head, and you won't understand it, and you don't need to learn all that also. But knowing the basics and how things work, it helps you out. So please do that. Okay. Any other doubts, please ask.
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
No,
Yeah.
sir.
All right. So your tomorrow's task will be installing your Express, and then doing that GitHub thingy. You have to push. Yeah, I have to show that to you. So let me take your 5 minutes more. I'm sorry, already we are coming in so late. Okay, chalo. So you guys can see my screen, right? So now there are some lots of changes that I have made to my okay. There's some issue with my node modules folder. Have I installed package? Yeah, it should do this. All right, I guess I will have to delete this folder in future right now. So you don't have to do that, because mine is working as it should. but it is also calling in Lodash instead of calling in Express. So where is my Express going for me right now? Is it somewhere? No. Okay, I will have to see about that part. Okay. Yeah, you see, uh, yeah. So what did I just do? All right. You see, you can also pass in parameters. So static member of array. Now, if you try and pass in something that is not an array over here, JavaScript will tell you that this should be an array. All right. So there are many things that go on behind the back. All right. So don't go in this part. You guys can see how do you make your dynamic language static over here. Okay, so there are many things that you can do to make it a strong language from a weakly typed language to strong language. But let's just get started with our GitHub desktop. So what you have to do is you have to open up your GitHub desktop. So it is on my bottom right corner. So I just double clicked it and it opened it up. All right. So now it will show me all the changes that I have made. All right. And you have to select your repository. So right now it is named hello for me. It will be named something different for you, and I would prefer that if you start it with something that is sensible. So don't do like this today website hello, and there are many other things that I do. I really don't want you guys to do it. So there are private repos and also public repos. So the locked ones are public private repos. So this is many websites, so it is a private repo for me. Okay. So now this is your hello part. So you have to select your current repo as hello. It will be anything else for you. Then you will have to add or remove files to the folder. Now this hello folder, it comes from my GitHub, and then inside that I have a folder that says hello. Now when you set up your GitHub desktop, you will be allowed the option to select where you want to store your GitHub folder. So right now I have it inside documents, and then once you open the GitHub folder, there are so many other things that you can see. So inside that I have a hello folder that works for me. You can select whichever folder that works for you. Okay, and then once you paste your files inside there, then you can start editing your file. And whenever you make an edit, it will say that this file is either modified or added. So plus means and added, this means dot means modified, and if there is a red box with a minus inside it, it means deleted. All right. Okay, so that is your files, and what does everything symbolize. And inside history you can always see what is inside, what at what commit you did something different or something. So this says the initial commit, and inside that we added a git ignore file. So this is our git ignore file on right hand side of my screen on that green part. And then we did a push yesterday where we added basic routing. So it shows you any changes that you make. So now we'll insert our summary that is at the bottom left part, and then we'll just say added express and initialized packages. Okay, so type in something sensible. You can add description, and then you can also add co-authors. So if somebody edited with you, you can always add that. When you go into production, you will be able to blame somebody, because you really don't want to take blame on you because of somebody's mistake. You see, you code you write, it can cost the company literally thousands or millions of dollars. So you are very important to the company, and what you do is very important. So you always make sure that you add a co-author. Don't be greedy or selfish saying that I wrote this code. If there was somebody included, always include it. Okay, and then just hit commit to main. So it will take a few seconds. Okay, it just says committed just now, and then you have this option. It says push commits to the origin remote. Okay, so then you just click on push origin. All right, so that is done. So that is how you push your code. And if you really want to confirm whether your code has been pushed or not correctly, you can go to github.com, your name, and then from there I have this hello. So yeah, this is my hello, and then it says 33 seconds ago over here, if you see, and then it says views and all. And if I click on this E9A44D2, okay, it tells me what changes or I have done. All right. So if I go to browse files, there are many things that you can do over here. Please explore them yourself and do things that you would like to. All right. So, and when you go to your home page, there is your profile page. You see, I have this green parts over here. So it says 7 contributions, 4 contributions, 3 contributions, 10 contributions, 5. So yesterday I had 3, then I have 2. Uh, so I want to see that you guys have a contribution each day. All right. So this was the most active part for me. Then at this point, I had some exams and then college was going on. So make sure that this stays green as the best part possible. All right. It is nice to see in interviews people are impressed. Okay, he does do work properly and all. So these are some gimmicks that you can work with GitHub. It also allows you to deploy your website, and there's much more to it than meets the eye. Okay, so that's a lot for the day. We already took like 1 hour 10 minutes of lecture, so we can wind up right now. So if you have any doubts, please ask.
So,
Yeah.
sir, do we need to fill the attendance form?
Yeah, you do need to fill the attendance form. Why did you miss a day or two?
Yes, sir. Yesterday I haven't filled that.
It's okay, chalo. You can fill it today also. We also do take attendance over here, but that attendance form is for knowing whether you are doing your task and all. But you do need to fill that form. Okay, please do that regularly. And then when you attend the class, also we take your subject attendance. So there are 2 attendances that we take. All right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, chalo. No problem.
So we should fill that form daily.
Yeah, obviously, attendance form is the same, right? It is supposed to be filled daily. Every day you go to college, you do sign on a pamphlet or the sheet of paper that gets passed around, or maybe in our college we had to do it online only. The same way you guys are doing right now. So for every lecture, in fact, we had to do that was around 5 to 7 times a day. And now we have fingerprints there. As soon as we left, we have fingerprints. We just have to go ahead and put our fingerprints. So the college was waiting for us to leave so that they can implement fingerprints. I don't feel good for that part. Okay.
Okay,
Uh,
sir. What about our previous attendance?
okay, we have been taking that. I will talk to Zia ma'am or somebody on a higher level who can take care of that part. But from till today, I will do it. From tomorrow onwards, you should be filling up your forms. Okay.
Okay,
In
sir.
fact, I will be reminding you guys every day at morning only. All right.
Okay, sir. From tomorrow I will.
Yeah. You did fill it today, right?
Sir, I didn't.
You can fill it till night 12. It allows you to fill till that time. So you have that uh, relaxation till 12 of night. So you can fill that right now also, but you can fill that later also, but before 12. After 12, your attendance will be marked for tomorrow. Okay.
Sir, today you haven't give us any task. So what should I fill in task section?
Well, yesterday I did give you a task to make today GitHub that part, and today you guys are supposed to implement express.js inside your website, right? And if you want to do more, you guys can always start creating your about page, your sign in sign up page, login page, and then wherever you want to insert product tag page, so you guys can start working on your website as well. All right.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. ठीक है चलो. But for basic task today, you have to implement your website inside express.js. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. And also install Nodemon. It will be very helpful for you. Okay. Chalo. Thanks for reminding for me for the task. If I had forgotten it, then it would have first issue for you. Chalo. It's a small task. You guys can learn something side by side. If it feels very small, you guys can experiment with it. There are many things that you can do with it. Okay, so let's just end the meet over here. We have gone past our 1 hour mark. It's already 1:15. ठीक है, चलो then. Bye everybody. Bye ma'am.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Chalo then. Have a nice day and good night.